The Go Idaho Podcast is hosted by Greg Langhaim and Ken Lee. In this podcast, we feature everything Idaho, including some of the most influential people in this great state. Now here's your host, Greg Langhaim. Welcome to the Go Idaho Podcast. The reason we're laughing is because I forgot to hit record on Quintin's camera, so we're redoing the intro. So we're back, and we have Quintin Mikell with us, and he is a former Boise State Bronco, retired NFL Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro with the Philadelphia Eagles, played in Super Bowl 2000 in the Super Bowl in 2005. Are we allowed to say Super Bowl on air? We're saying it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't we?
You know, because they claim that you can't say it. And all this. Anyway, yeah, he's back in Boise. He is part of the Q&A show that you can find on YouTube. Q&A, Quintin and Avant show. Yeah. Jason Avant from the Philadelphia Eagles. Great show. Super good insight coming from two spectacular NFL players. Yeah. And you're getting inside intel. It's pretty awesome. Great show. Find it on YouTube. Q&A show. You'll find it. And I don't know if you know this or not. It's going to be kind of weird because I just said this earlier in the first recording, but you're the third best player to ever come out of Boise State, according to NFL.com, to ever play in the NFL.
That's crazy.
Behind Ryan Clady, is that how you say it?
Clady,
and Kimo von Olenhofen. And you said you actually played a year with him.
Yeah. So it was toward the end of his career, but he was 1 year, maybe one or two with the Eagles. So it was really cool seeing him.
Nice. Lastly, but you can find him on Instagram at QMike27. And then last and most importantly, married to 4 kids, and you're here back in Boise, Idaho. Yes. Well, welcome and welcome to the show.
Heck yeah, man. All right, man. So coming in from Idaho, we're known for the potatoes. So just a little icebreaker. Tell the audience, how do you like your potatoes, man?
So just right off the bat, absolutely cannot stand mashed potatoes. So we'll throw that one out
Not
right
even
away.
With some gravy or anything?
No, I hate mashed potatoes. Absolutely. So I like French fries is number one, and then I'll go baked potatoes.
All right.
French fries, and we figured this out. McDonald's fries are a go-to. Your daughter loves the McDonald's fries.
Nothing better.
Who doesn't like a good McDonald's French fry? Oh gosh. Okay. We are going to jump right into Boise State stuff because it's awesome. We're here in Boise. Let's do this. You were the 2002, and I keep bragging on him because I know he's not going to do it himself. So 2002 WAC Defensive Player of the Year, and you ended your career second most tackles in Boise State history with 401 and 256 solo tackles.
Monster.
He's a monster.
Monster, man.
And that was were you a defensive back, or were you a safety, free safety, strong safety? What position was that?
So I was a safety. We called it the position rover position, but it's a safety essentially. You're kind of in the box playing close to the line of scrimmage, so you get a lot of tackles that way. So.
Okay. So am I old school when I say strong safety, free safety?
No.
Is that still a thing?
No, it's the same. It's the same thing.
Okay.
I was just a little insight. That's what we called it. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Because I was playing free safety in our Turkey Bowl game against the 10-year-olds that we dominated. I was playing free safety, so I may have dominated that game against those 10-year-olds.
Hey, if you're on the field, you got to dominate no matter what.
We'll talk about how sore we
I'm
still
a little
are.
sore. My right ankle's not doing too well, but we won't talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about Boise State.
Yeah.
How did you end up at Boise State?
Yeah. So long story short, I grew up in New Orleans, moved to Indiana, lived with my dad. He got transferred out to Eugene, Oregon for work, and I went to Willamette High School out there. So when I was there, I did pretty well in high school sports. I went to University of Oregon's football camp, and I did pretty well at the camp. Just so it turned out that was the year that the next January was the year that Coach Dirk Cutter got the head job here at Boise State. So once he got here, he started recruiting me because I wasn't really getting recruited by University of Oregon. So started recruiting me, brings me over, and from the moment I landed, from the moment I stepped foot here, I just loved it, and I just felt like this was the place for me.
You got to say, because when we first were filming this, you got to say when you were first flying in, what did you see and what were you like?
Yeah, so when we were first flying in, I'll never forget. I just remember seeing the city, and the first thing I noticed was all the trees, and then seeing all of the snow and ice, and I was just like, man, this is a really cool place. And then, getting on campus and then stepping foot in that stadium, I just remember looking up and just like, man, this is where I want to play. This place is beautiful. The stadium was beautiful. I'd never been on blue turf before.
Yeah, I was gonna
that
ask.
just blew my mind. And I remember in my recruiting, Coach Cutter took me on the field on the 50-yard line, and he kind of put it in my head. He's like, just imagine this place full of people screaming and going nuts. Like, he set the vision of what this place could be in my head. And from that moment on, I was like, this is where I want to be.
This is it.
Yeah,
that is so cool. That must have been that's probably something you'll never forget.
Oh, absolutely not.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, because you're always repping your Boise State gear on the Q&A show. I've seen that, all over the place. So that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, I mean, you have siblings that played sports, or who was your influence, I guess, growing up?
Yeah. So my biggest influence for football was my dad. I just remember, I mean, he was from New Orleans originally. He ended up getting a scholarship to play at Indiana State, and that's how we all ended up there. And nice. When I moved there, I was in the 6th grade. I started playing, and he was one of my coaches, and very influential. I remember watching tape with him, studying film, and doing all that crazy stuff. And it's always been in me. It's part of who I am as a player. I remember I got pictures my mom sent me of me as a kid in 3-point stands, getting ready to snap the ball. So
love it.
It's always been a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And it's been so my dad and my brothers played, but I would say my dad was probably the biggest influence.
Brothers, did your brothers play any college,
No, so my younger brother, Darian, he actually didn't play. He played more flag, but he was a basketball player.
Okay.
He got a scholarship to play. He did track. He was a high jumper at Marist in Indiana. Not Marist. I'm blanking right now.
In Indiana.
Yeah, in Indiana. And then my other brother played football. He's really good. He was a cornerback. But he didn't play past high school. He did long jump at Indiana State. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm blanking on
So all just premier athletes, though. I mean,
yeah, I would say.
D1, man.
Yeah, well, dude, come on. In all that stuff, track, football, basketball, baseball, that, those.
They're my dad included, they're all better athletes than me.
Really?
Like, my dad was, he was 6'2", 230. He was fast. He was a sprinter in high school. He was on the 4x1 state champion team. My brothers were all sprinters. They're probably better athletes than me.
Where do you fall in order, I guess, of siblings?
Oh, so I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm the oldest, and I don't want to get too into it, but I have both step parents on both sides. So I'm the only child between my mom and my dad. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. No, that's awesome.
Well,
So
the youngest is usually the best athlete, because I was the best athlete.
Yeah.
I'm just saying to my brothers. I mean,
There you go.
well, because you learn from your older too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, I got beat up as the youngest by my older brothers. Playing football. I mean, they would just destroy me, but it taught me to be tougher and taught me to be faster and quicker and all that good stuff. Anyway, sorry.
yeah, no, I was just going to kind of talk a little bit about like what you're seeing right now with you have kids, and growing up and putting your kids in sports. There's like the super competitive families, there's just the families. How do kids who want to like take it up the next level, like what's the easiest way for them to kind of get noticed?
Yeah.
Especially here in Idaho, if we're not in a big city, so to speak.
Yeah, so I get that question a lot. When I was actually coaching high school in New Jersey, and I had this question a few times. And to me, the biggest way, if your child is serious about playing at the next level and wants to get noticed, a lot of people do the videos, they do the highlight reels and all that stuff, and that's cool, that's important. But to me, the biggest way is to send your kids off to camps. Send them to as many camps as possible. Doesn't matter if it's a big school, small school, because what coaches do is they'll send guys all to these camps. And so let's say you send your son to a Boise State football camp, and at that camp there might be coaches from Idaho, there might be coaches from Alabama, like you never know. And that's an easier way for your son to get noticed, especially if they're a good player in a smaller market. It's a way for them to get notice against the best competition in the area. And so a lot of times if you're on the team and you're just a star on your team, it's like, okay, that's great, but what does he do against other players, or how does he look? Like, how's his mannerisms around the other players? Like, is he a good person? Is he a person that I can coach? Is a person I would want on my locker room? So that all that stuff comes into play.
It does come into play then. They want to see how this guy interacts, and is he just all about him?
Absolutely.
So was there like an age, because I know there's probably parents listening to this and like, oh man, I should get my 6-year-old out to a camp then, like what's the magic age, that you should start sending your kids out and about onto these camps?
Yeah, for me, I would say high school age.
Okay.
I would start freshman year at the latest. I wouldn't go beyond 7th grade. There's some kids that get scholarship offers at like 7th, 8th grade, which is nuts. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I think,
Well, 7th and 8th graders now are sometimes already like 6'1" and
Yeah,
200
that's
pounds.
true, huh?
I don't know what we're feeding these kids, but man, they're getting bigger and faster and stronger sooner.
Well, that's good advice, just to get out there, get your kids outside of this market, and start getting noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
just getting them too, and like putting them around other people. Now that could be a bad thing too. That could be possible bad influences, but usually at these camps, they're all like-minded players. They all are motivated together, and they want to collectively figure something out for themselves. So it's actually a good way to get good influences around your son or daughter.
Nice.
Now, these coaches that come to these camps, do they look for, who's going to be the player that come up and ask me, hey, how can I better my stance or read the play? Is that?
Yeah, that stuff, like asking questions, taking the coaching, like if you're competitive, if you're a person that whines and doesn't get what they want and then pout. So all that stuff comes into play, and coaches are really keen on figuring out who will mesh with their locker room, who's really serious about playing, who's only in it for themselves. All that stuff really comes into play, and the coaches can find that out.
That's cool.
Because I can imagine you've got, say 100 kids show up, right? There's probably, like a good 10, 15 that just really stand out, like athletically, right?
Yeah.
But then just because they're the best athlete doesn't always mean you want them on your team, So I get that.
You can get that. Like sometimes it might be a small school, and it might be like, the best athlete there, and they know they have no shot at getting that guy.
Yeah.
Right. But this guy over here, that's maybe not the best athlete, but he held his own against this guy. Like, okay, I'll work with him.
Yeah. And this guy fighting him and all that stuff. Yeah. That's interesting. So back when you went to Boise State, I think of Boise State now as a premier football school, and I think many people do too. That was during the time where Boise State was really starting to come on the map, so to speak, as like, man, every year they're in there every year now, right? So I mean, you're kind of like one of the, I don't want to say founding fathers. That sounds dumb. Founding fathers of making Boise State football what it is today, right? But at the time, did you feel like, man, we've got something to fight for? We want to show people like this is who we are. Was that like a big thing back then?
Absolutely. I think back then, I remember the year before was the year we lost to University. I was on my recruit trip. We lost to University of Idaho. I think it was Joel Thomas, running back, ran it in the end zone. And I just remember the next year we came in. And a lot of the players that were on our original like recruiting class, we all had chips on our shoulders. We all felt like this was the place where we wanted to be, but we also felt kind of shunned and no one believed in us, right? So like we just had this chip on our shoulder. And I think that was a huge part of the success of this program, was that, going into Fresno State and winning that big game when no one gave us a shot, going against all odds when people, they play on blue turf. That's not a real football program.
Smurf. This is the Smurf.
Yeah. And just stuff like that. And so we just demanded our respect as a program, and we just kept getting better. So I wouldn't say, like, we're kind of like the OGs that kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah.
That team with Coach Peterson, they took it to new heights by far. But we kind of started it a little bit.
No, I agree, because I mean, I'm a football guy, so like I remember when Boise State first kind of hit the map, and I was like, Boise State? I'm like, who's Boise State? And I'm like honestly, I just, because everything to me being in Southern California was, USC, Notre Dame game, and then all these big schools, Alabama and Michigan and, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you just start seeing like little clips on ESPN of Boise State. I'm like, what on earth is this? And then, and then it just, and then now it's a premier, what Andy Avalos has done this year has been, I would say Dirk Cutter stepped up and really helped out. But
absolutely.
So I have a list of guys that are on the current team of Boise State, and I'm going to ask your opinion. Okay, of this list, who do you think could potentially have the best NFL career? All right, I've got J.L. Skinner, Scott Matlock, Taylon Green. By the way, freshman.
Yeah,
what is happening there?
He stepped up.
Phenomenal.
George Halani. And then DJ Schramm, the linebacker. And then I'll show you. I'm not going to let you see this because I have a dark horse. I have a dark horse in there who's not on there. Of those guys, who do you see? I mean, I think they all could have good NFL careers if, gone down the right path. But right now, like today, who do you think is most NFL ready?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think all of them are going to have great careers. To me, though, that the guy that I think is going to be able to step in and contribute quickly, I would say one will be Matlock, just because D-line position is a premium position in the NFL, and we've had a lot of success with some of our D-linemen over the last few years. And he's big, he's strong, he's aggressive, he's not afraid, he'll get after it. And teams just love bringing in D-linemen.
Yeah,
I would say the next for me would be Skinner, because he's got tremendous size, athletic ability, ball hawking ability, will hit you. And in today's world, we're seeing what these big tight ends are doing in the game. You got to have someone that's big and athletic that can match up with those guys. So it's kind of a tie for me between Matlock and Skinner, and I can't wait to see both of them play at the next level.
Nice. So I have a dark horse, and this is going to be down the road, though. He's only a freshman now. But Ashton Gianti, the running back.
Phenomenal.
Holy smokes. Like Halani he's like that every down, boom, boom, boom. But when Ashton gets in the game, though, man, when he touches that ball, he is a firecracker.
Yes.
Man,
Phenomenal.
I think if he can stay healthy throughout his Boise State years, I think he could have a good impact in the NFL as a running back.
Absolutely. And then he's a true freshman, right?
Yes.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I think he was playing high school ball last year.
I know.
He's going to be a great player.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Man, so you transitioned into the NFL. What was that like? I mean, you had to kind of make your own mark, right?
Yeah.
Undrafted, right?
Yeah, undrafted. I played a lot of those years angry. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Which is how you have to
I've seen some highlights. I see the little anger. So you like to lay the hat a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think that's who I am as a person. I think it was instilled in me from my dad and my years here. Just not necessarily being a underdog, but someone that had to work hard for everything. And even when I did eventually make it to becoming a starter, it was like every year they were bringing in new guys to replace you, and that's part of the game. And so just understanding that and learning that early on in my career, even in high school, it was something that's been instilled in me, and it's made me who I am today, and it's made me more successful, I think.
Yeah.
And it's NFL's a business. And, one of the guys I was talking to, he's like, gosh, in college we had such this camaraderie, we knew. And then in the NFL, it's like, all of a sudden they're gone. And you're like, where'd it go?
Yeah.
It's just nuts.
It's great. And when you're on the team, the first time you really realize it is through training camp, OTAs, the locker room is just full. There's like 80, 90 guys in there. And then after the first cut, you start looking around and just a little less people. And then on the week of the first game, when they're down to 53, it feels like a ghost town in the locker room. Wow. There's so many people gone, it's nuts. And then you start to feel like, okay, at any moment this could all be ended. And so you appreciate every moment.
Gosh, so the first 4 years in your NFL career, your bread and butter was special teams.
Yeah.
Like that's where you kind of just you're like, oh, I got to do something. I got to show my worth. And you actually, I think I read this right. You were voted by your teammates as Player of the Year, Special Teams Player of the Year, 2 years during that time. Yeah.
Where are you finding all this?
Dude, come on. You know what I'm saying? I do my research. I know what's up. And then in 2007, that's kind of when you got that contract, and that's kind of what kicked you off. Is that when you became a starter then?
Yeah, so I think I did a three-year deal coming out, and then you have the 1 year. So after the fourth year, the fifth year, I signed another contract, and it was still kind of like a special teams type contract.
Dude, was that just like insane? Like getting that contract?
Yeah.
I mean, I bet.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean,
I bet.
It's fun. It's fun, but at the same time, it's tough because you feel like you're working so hard to get to that point. And then when you get to that point, it's like, well, now I got to justify this money.
Yeah.
And so now it's like your work has to ramp up even more. So, you know, it was fun, and I was very appreciative and deserved, and yeah, it was good.
What was the hardest part? I mean, I should back up. What was the hardest part transitioning into the NFL, coming from college where you dominated?
I think the biggest thing, well, it was two. I think the time management part is something that isn't talked about a whole lot. You know, when you're in college, everything is kind of scheduled and compartmentalized for you, so it's easier. Once you get into the NFL, you have all this free time. But it's time that you need to be constructive and figure out you got to take care of your body, you got to eat well, you got to get in the ice tub, you got to do those things. You have to know how to study, you have to learn how to study film, you have to learn the playbook. So I think the biggest adjustment is the time management part of it. And then once you figure that out, you'll become more successful. The guys that aren't successful at that level are the guys that aren't getting rest. They're hanging out too late. They're spending their money doing silly stuff, and they're not really putting their focus where it should be. And to me, that was probably the most difficult part, was just figuring out what to do.
Well, that's probably hard for like somebody coming out of college. You know, you're throwing, you know, decent amount of money. You got all this free time on your hand. Let's be honest. When you get out of college, you're still a knucklehead. Yeah. You know, and you're not fully mature and quite understand the whole concept of life yet. And you're just like, man, let's go have some fun. So you're out having fun. You're doing this stuff. So did you have somebody that kind of took you under your wing and like, hey, look, go have some fun, but let's get back here? Like, was there anybody that kind of took you under their wing and helped you out with that kind of stuff? I wouldn't say that. I will say I did have a friend, and his name's Reno Mahe. You guys may have known him. He played at BYU. He was a punt returner for us. But he was, he's a Mormon guy, and he was married. We were rookies. I think he was already married. Yeah, he was already married. I think he had 1 or 2 kids already. So hanging out with Reno and seeing his lifestyle and how he was making the same money that we were making, because we all had the same contract basically, but he was a family man. Like, he was taking care of his wife, he was taking care of his kids. That showed me how you should act, and that kept me focused. And the other part of it too was I was fortunate enough to have a very veteran team. Brian Dawkins was on that team, Jeremiah Trotter, Donovan had been in the league for a few years. We had a very veteran team in the secondary, and Bobby Taylor was there. Troy Vincent was on that team, and so we had guys that didn't let us be knuckleheads. They taught us, if you guys want to be successful, this is how you do it. You come to work, you study, you go home, you take care of your body, have fun in the off season. But right now, it's time for work. Yeah, they're like, we're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
we're not here to mess around. Let's win a Super Bowl. And you guys did. You guys went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Lost,
didn't win it.
I know. What were some of your pre-game rituals, or, post-game, halftime? Did you have anything like that?
So one of these which is really cool, and it's a sad story, but I don't know if you guys remember Paul Reyna. He was a defensive lineman. He came in same year we all came in. Our first scrimmage, our first year here, Paul, in our scrimmage, he fell, hit his head, and ended up dying. And he had a coma, and a couple years later, he ended up dying. Well, one of the things that we have, there was a picture on the wall of Paul Reyna, and I remember every time we would go on the field before a game. We would touch the picture just to kind of remind ourselves of, how fleeting life can be and how important every day is and how to focus and just live life to the fullest. And so that was one thing that I always did to the day I retired, is I would imagine that picture on the wall as I walked out the last door, whatever the last door was in any visiting locker room, and I would just picture that picture of Paul, and I would touch it real quick just to remind myself of his loss and his family's loss and how it can all be gone just like that.
Wow.
Dude, and they're taking huge steps to protect players now. I mean, as a fan watching, like, dude, that was not a roughing the quarterback call,
Yeah.
And now, but they're just so protective. How do you feel about that? I mean,
he's a defensive player. He's a defensive player.
Like
I can already see in his eyes. He's like, okay, I get some of it, but some of this is just ridiculous.
Oh, it's almost like they're flopping like soccer.
My perspective, and we're gonna get an NFL player's perspective, but especially this targeting rule. Like the defensive guys coming in, you clearly coming in shoulder first, like a normal tackle would be, and then the running back or some wide receiver dips their head, and now you're helmet to helmet, and they're like targeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about that in particular?
I would say first, like their mind, their heart's in the right place with the rules. I understand it and I respect that part of it. But to think that you can just take any type of helmet-to-helmet hits out of the game completely, it's never going to happen. Like, that's why we wear helmets. That's why they wear helmets. I disagree with the rule of kicking a player out for one infraction. Now, if it happens twice in the game, okay, now that's a habit. That's something. Okay, like if you learn one time, if it happens one time and you get a penalty and you get a warning, but if it happens again, then I think it's okay to kick them out. But after one hit, it becomes a situation where other people, outside forces, have an impact on the game that normally wouldn't. I think it should move to 2. If you get 2 personal fouls, if you get 2 personal fouls for hits or tackles or whatever, take you out the game. But I agree, it's almost impossible to get it out of it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that, and this might just be me as a fan, but watching NFL games, defensive players now, they do not hit like they used to hit. And running backs are actually getting more yards and receivers are getting more yards after the catch because defensive players will not come up and tackle the way they used to. It's almost like they almost come up with their chest and they kind of just grab now.
I don't know.
I've noticed a lot
more of the punch.
Well, I think that they're doing this to try to strip it, so it allows the running back to like break free a little bit more because they're not using both hands to hold on. But I just feel like the last couple years here, they're breaking more tackles. But I think it's because the defensive backs and they can't come up and hit the way they used to. What do you think?
I think.
No.
I just think if you got someone like Quintin coming, I mean, it's in your blood to just like pop.
But
that
I know,
guy.
but they're second thinking now because of the rule. They're coming up and they're, now some guys don't care, Well, I don't know. What is your opinion on that?
I'll tell you, like, from the Sunday, so the Eagles played the Packers Sunday night. 2 things I noticed, and we talked about on the show, is number one, the tackling is bad, and it's because, again, I think you're not allowed to tackle the way we used to, but I also think the way we practice, the way the players are practicing, because of the rules now where you can't really hit in training camp, you can't really hit in practice, it's affecting the game in the sense that guys aren't hitting like they used to. Like, they're not allowed to in practice, they're not allowed to in the games. So that's what we're seeing, and we are seeing a lot more guys breaking tackles because guys just can't do it anymore.
They just can't do it.
Yeah.
And
I'm on to something.
You're on. Yes.
My second part about, and this is important to me too, and sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson got hurt in that game, lacerated his kidney because there was a pass that was high, and he was trying to not get that shot to the head, so he kind of ducked down and tried to give a shoulder. And what happened was all that receiver's weight came down on him, and he was still kind of crouched trying to get up. And this is a situation where he was trying not to get a penalty, but he ended up getting hurt, potentially causing severe bodily damage to himself. So again, it's just I don't like the rules. I don't like the rules at all.
I don't like it either, and I don't know. I just feel like we're getting a little too soft. And I understand you want to protect people, but I think we're getting a little too soft. One thing that frustrates me, and I don't know why, and I get it, it's all about player preservation, preserving your bodies and stuff like that. But it just drives me crazy when a running back is like running down the sideline and a defender's coming up and they just step out of bounds.
What?
I'm like, and I'm watching, I'm like, you could have got 2 more yards. Dude, that 2 more yards could be the game at the end of the game when you need that 2 yards on that drive or whatever, or the difference between a touchdown and a field goal. Yeah. And it drives me crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Like, everybody's getting softer now. I know. Not that I'm like an NFL guy. And on that point, I actually have a question about that. Like, what kind of toll, though, does the NFL have on your body, especially back when you were playing, when it was still hard hat football, like let's get after it, I've seen some of your hits, dude. They were not, you weren't messing around out there.
Thank you. So far so good. Obviously, I mean, the wear and tear in the knees are tough. I've had 2 knee surgeries since I retired. They're just scopes, which was weird because I never really had any bad knee injuries when I played. So there's really nothing in those joints anymore, so that part's tough. I've had a few like shoulder surgeries and stuff when I was playing, but so far so good, knock on wood.
Yeah.
The whole concussion stuff I have done a couple of studies, and I've seen some specialists. I've had a couple back concussions, but so far everything's looked okay. The NFL does a really good job of taking care of situations where, like, every year they have in the Cleveland Clinic, they fly guys out if you choose to, and they do a complete 2 days, a complete study of your whole body.
Oh, wow.
They study your joints, they check everything out, make sure you're good. The part I didn't like is they put you guys ever seen the sleep apnea test things? You gotta wear this mask and they study your sleep, and I did not like that at all.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's not fun, but they give you a lot of good information about yourself and things you need to do to make yourself healthy and keep yourself going fine. So far so good. We'll see.
Well, not every player gets into the Super Bowl. Talk to us about that experience, man. Like the hype, the commitments you had, and staying focused.
Yeah, it was fun. That year was so crazy. That was the first year we signed Terrell Owens, and I kind of got spoiled because we were so good that year, and we were blowing everyone out. I mean, I was getting in games as a special teamer. Like, it was really awesome. And we got spoiled in the sense that it felt so easy, so young in my career, that I was like, oh, we'll get back here again. And never got another chance to get back. And so I don't think that I fully grasped that moment the way I did, the way I would have if I knew it was towards the end of my career.
Right.
But it was an awesome experience. The media is crazy. The fans are nuts. Little stuff like helicopters following you on the bus, making sure you get there safe.
No way.
Wow.
And I'll never forget. This is one of the coolest moments. I was a special teams guy, so we got to return the ball. We won the toss, so we got the ball on the kickoff. And I'll never forget, as soon as that ball was kicked, all I saw was like everyone's cameras flashing at the same time. It was like the entire sky just went straight white. And like, it almost
when you were on the field.
Yeah,
and then that's what happened. You were like, "Whoa, what was that?"
It was crazy.
Wow.
And then I played. I mean, up to that point, I played in the front of a lot of people, but that was amazing. It was really cool. Sucks that we lost. I still think the Patriots cheated.
We're not going to talk about that. Where was that game played, by the way? I don't remember.
Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Which that part of it was not good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jacksonville, but that was not a fun experience in terms of the city-wise. It should have been in Boise.
Yeah.
Come on, NFL, come to Boise.
Yeah, there we go. I like it. Okay, Eagles they're 10-1 this year. Best record in the NFL.
Yep.
Are we going to the Super Bowl this year with Jalen Hurts? Can he take? I have my opinion of Jalen Hurts, but I want to hear what you think. And I've listened to your Q&A show, so I kind of know a little bit of what you're going to say. But do you think they got the potential to go to the Super Bowl?
I don't want to jinx it. I think they have the potential. they need to, on defense, they need to tackle well and shore up the run game a little bit better. The turnovers are starting to creep up a little bit. We've had a few fumbles lately, especially A.J. Brown. But I think if the chips fall the right way and we have home field advantage, I think they can get to the Super Bowl this year. I think so.
Yeah.
Looking at the schedule, the last few games here of the season, if Philadelphia didn't play well at all, I think they can go 50-50 in the last 3 games. Like if they lost to Tennessee, because Tennessee is really good, obviously, but they could easily run the table on that too, though. So Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl QB, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
I do too, actually.
I think so.
This year has been, I don't know what happened to him in his head or what happened, but he's different than this year than he was last year.
Yeah.
He is balling like crazy this year. Yeah. His throws look really good. They look accurate. And then just what he can do with his legs is just is phenomenal. So
yeah, he looks good, man. Like you said, I think the one thing that he needed to get better at was his accuracy, especially down the field and throwing over the middle. Mm-hmm. And he's been looking phenomenal this year.
Yeah, he looks really good.
I've got a question from an 8-year-old.
Okay.
I told my son, and he wants to know, what do NFL players do at halftime? Do they eat? Is there a bunch of free food?
Fixing your mic. That's a good question, actually.
He's like, I'm just so curious. Can you ask him what do the NFL players
do
at
Madden.
halftime?
They play Madden.
Yeah.
No, that's a good question. It's funny. The first time I went in halftime, I didn't know what to expect either. So when you go in at a home game, there's a big table full of food.
What?
Yeah, it's healthier food. It's
right.
Bananas, oranges, the little peanut butter Crustables. There's those in there. Tons of food stuff, water. You go in, you sit down, adjust anything if you need to retape your ankles or whatever. And then you sit there for a second. Head coach comes in, says what he has to say. Defensive coordinator says what he has to say. Offensive coordinator says what he has to say. And then everyone kind of splits off. Well, I'm sorry. The head coach comes in, then the offense and defense, they split off. And their defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator do their talking there. Then you break into a smaller group with your secondary coach or your lineman coach, and then they break it off a little bit more. And then the rest of the time is just talking and trying to get each other hyped back up for the second half.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, halftime at the Super Bowl. Was it different? Was there a lot more like X's and O's? Okay, no, we got to adjust here. Was it a little bit more intense because it's the Super Bowl, or?
It was a little more intense, but it was more time. So it was kind of weird because you're not used to it. So like after that meeting where you break down with your position coach, they got to head back up to the press box, but there's a concert going on at halftime.
Right.
So you're just like, all right, and you're just kind of sitting around
waiting for it.
Waiting. Sometimes the kickers, the guys that, they go back out and they watch the concert. They're in the.
Well, what are you saying? The kickers don't gotta do a little more X's and O's.
The kickers always got out of stuff.
They really did. I tell this story all the time. John Dornbos, awesome guy. He was our long snapper. I forget, we had a punter from. I'm blanking on everyone's name right now. I'm so bad right now, but I'll never forget. So we're in the heat of training camp. 100 degrees. We're just dying. I look over, and the punter, the kicker, and the snapper are sitting Indian style on the other field, just like talking.
Just chilling.
Yeah. And I look over at John, and I say something, and he's like, hi.
Living the life,
Dude, that's the route.
Hey,
man.
so if you ever want to get to the NFL, be a long snapper or a kicker or a holder, and you're golden, dude. You're golden. That is so funny. All right, so now that you're back in the Boise area, why did you guys decide to come back here?
Yeah, so we came back. Like we'd come back every summer for a couple weeks, and we always have a blast. We go up to McCall, we see all our friends and just have a great time. And when the whole thing happened with COVID, it kind of soured us on the area that we were in. We still love it there. But I've been wanting to move back for so long. I've been wanting, let's go back to Boise. Let's at least get a house, you know. And then my wife is a Jersey girl. And one thing, when you're in Jersey, you don't leave Jersey. Like most people in Jersey that are from there, they don't leave. And so it was a difficult decision, especially for her. And I think the ultimate reason why is because in New Jersey we've done so much, and we've done so many things, and there's so many adventures that we can have out here. There's so much stuff that you can do outdoor, you know, skiing, hiking, rafting, like all that stuff, and we want to be able to do those things. And you know, it was tough on her, and it was finally her that was she okayed the decision, because she wants to do those things. Like, she want to go out and have fun and do all the things that we love to do out here. And so you know, that's ultimately the reason, is because we wanted to get back to nature. We wanted to get back to being around, you know, friends and some of my family and stuff, and then have the opportunity to just create a bunch of new life experiences, a bunch of new memories, a bunch of fun stuff. And there's no place better than to be here doing it.
Yeah, your kids, it's going to be something your kids are never going to forget growing up here. You know, me and my family, we just moved a year ago from Southern California, and we are just in heaven. I mean, we love it up here so much. It's so cool.
Well, yeah, we came from Bend, which is an outdoor mecca, and there's so much to do here in Idaho. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's not in our backyard, but like it was in Bend. But dude, it's unreal. It's so cool, and I think that's why a lot of people are putting Idaho on the map.
And it's crazy. We, like I said, we come back every year, every summer. But I hadn't noticed how much it changed here until we've actually been here, like living here. It's changed a lot, and it's changed for a lot of good ways. I mean, there's so much to do here now. So many good restaurants. There's just so much to do, and you know, just feeling like everything is like family oriented. Feeling like they get it here, right? They understand that it's important to the next generation. It's important. Family values is important to take care of the community. It's important to take care of the environment. All that stuff is important, and so it's just great being around like-minded people. So
I love that.
I do too. What's been the hardest challenge for you transitioning from active to retired?
That's a tough question. The hardest part, I would say, is the time.
Yeah. Right.
Like, when I was saying how you learn how to to control all your time, you have, for 11 years I was playing football. Even in the off season, I had everything. Okay, I'm going on vacation this time. OTA start here. I got to be back. So everything was always kind of etched in. And then when it was like you retired, it was like boom. It was like a giant void of time. And I think that was probably the hardest thing for me, was figuring out what to do with myself during the day. You know, my wife was like, "Get the heck out of the house, man.
Right?
What are you doing?"
Well, are we going to see you on the sidelines at Boise State one of these days with the headset on?
Possibly. I got to talk to Andy. I like I said, I coached high school in New Jersey. I coached a little bit with my son's team here. I might help at another team here. I love coaching. It's something I love to do. It's part of me. So maybe we'll see. I'll reach out to Andy.
That would be cool.
That would be so cool.
That would be really fun. Man.
I think I can help.
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt, dude. I mean, with your experience and everything, that would be amazing. That would be super cool.
You know what I'd like to hear? Maybe we could sign off on this, or we can come, but we don't have to sign off on it. Give us an NFL play call.
Oh,
they just seem like, I mean,
I can only do defensive.
Give me a defensive play call, because I want
to. Here's one. So we had they don't sound as cool as the offensive. All right. So here's one. Under Fox Snake. All right. It's a man blitz. It depends on what the offense comes out in. They have two backs in the backfield. Both safeties are gone. If there's one back, only one safety's gone. So under Fox Snake.
Under Fox Snake. What's a cool name, dude? Under Fox Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. My old days was like, 3-4, And then, right linebacker go, like all the old cheesy stuff. Dude, we didn't have cool names like that, dude. That's awesome. So, I love it. Well, I mean, gosh, dude, this was awesome.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah. It's great to be back, man. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I love you guys.
Yeah, thank you. And don't forget, Q&A show on YouTube. Go check it out. Quintin and Jason Avant are on there talking Philadelphia Eagles all the time. So if you're an Eagles fan, go get your fix, man. And then you can find them on Instagram, QMike27. So, I think that's going to wrap it up.
Thank you, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Cool.